Hello guys, welcome back to The Crew 2. With the live reward event going for the next 2 weeks to prepare yourself for the summit, you can find more boxes, you can find better loot, you have all these parts in there. If you're a new player, you want to upgrade, it's a good way to get parts. If you're a more seasonal player already and you have like all kind of stuff going on, you want to have some more specific parts, yellow parts, legendary parts, and with a specific bonus. Now, that is where all these things come into play. You have the icon points. If you are icon 675, that means that you can have everything of these things are on 25 points, and all of these things do all kind of different stuff. We will come back to that in a second. Now, I'm icon 700 something now, so which means I had some spare points to spare here on Gold Finder and on Lucky. I put them now, but I have everything else on 25. But all of these things, they do different stuff, and they all apply to certain vehicles or to certain categories or disciplines and so on. That also means that, for instance, what is the best part and what is this? That is all, of course, subjective to personal preference, although in some cases it is only gonna be that part and that is what you need. For instance, you have the Nitro Chemist set. That thing here, if you have a set of 7 parts on it, that makes it active. If you have the like I have here now, you get some sparkling going on. You have the Nitro Chemist and it makes it active, and that means that you're gonna get a more or less a double bar of nitro that is happening. That also, of course, means that you want some more power, some more refill, for instance. Like here, for me personally, this is probably the best Nitro Chemist part out there. It is the Nitro Chemist. It has Pure on it, which is the Nitro Power, and it has Extra Pump, which is the Nitro Refill Speed. I have 10% on it here for Extra Pump, and the Pure is 6%. Now, this probably can be the best part. We will check that in a second. But yeah, what is the best part? How high does it go? So I thought, with all the people out there finding these live reward boxes, it might be a good idea that we know what is the range of all these parts. So I asked the devs if it would be possible to get a list, which they have provided to us. Also there, we will come back to that in a second. They have provided us with a list with all the percentages available for all of these things. I expanded it a little bit and I made it into a Google document, which I will share in the description of this video, and then you can go there to find it a bit. So for Nitro Chemist, it's probably this one. Then we go to which Nitro Chemist you can put on a street race, touring car, whatever it is that you want to put it on. Some people put it on everything, but that's not always advisable. Some of these things don't really need it in such a way. Like for instance, the drift. The drift, what is the best part in drift? Personally, the set bonus, don't immediately see the benefit of that on a drift car. The main thing is that you need slippery on it, definitely for sure. If you don't have slippery on a drift car, like you do for instance in PvP, everybody gets the same parts, green parts, and that means that the multiplier goes to times 50. You do a certain run and you score a certain amount of points, and it will be multiplied with times 50 in case you haven't lost the multiplier, obviously. Then you have the slippery from the icon points. If you put 20 in the pilot menu there, these icon points in the third category, you have slippery here. If you put 25 points on here, each of these points is one multiplier. If you have 25 on here, that means that the multiplier, instead of going times 50, it will go times 75. So that is already a big increase. That can make 100,000 points difference if you do a full run without losing the multiplier. And then of course, you can also put some extra parts on it, extra slippery affix on it. And the maximum for slippery is, like in this part, 14. if you have that on the 7 different parts, that means an extra 98 points of multiplier. So if you have the 25 icon points, you have the slippery 14 on all 7 of them, and then the standard times 50, that means that the multiplier at the end of your run will be able to go to times 173. That is a big difference, obviously. With a times 50, you can score 220,000 in a run where you do not lose the multiplier. With everything on it, slippery 14, icon points, and so on, you can go to 700, 800,000 points score. Which, of course, with the upcoming summit is something you're gonna need. You're gonna need the highest multiplier available if you want to be pretty decent in those drift events. For me personally, slippery in combination with hot hat, which increases the speed multiplier. The faster you drive, the higher you score. That's what a hot hat does. That is, in my opinion, the secondary affix that you need next to the slippery on a drift car. That is sort of for the drift. Then the drag, the drag, probably some pure and some drag bump or so, or shifty. If you do it with a team, you definitely want to have maybe even a combination of drag bump and shifty on it as well. At this moment in time, I only have 2 sets for the drag car, and that is one Nitro Chemist, which you obviously need, and in case you want to use a drag car in a skill test, for instance, you probably want to have a score breaker set, and preferably in combination with something like this here, skilled 10%. The highest part available is the skill 10%. It cannot go higher, and that will give you 10% more scoring in skill tests, and then in combination with a score breaker set, it multiplies the points in skills by 2. So you can score double the amount of points in a skill test if you have a score breaker set on it. Those are all those things that matter. What else do we have? Something specific? Let me think about it. Monster truck, probably. What is the perfect part in a monster? Probably this one. This sort of, you can, of course, you can put Nitro Chemist on it and everything you want, but if you like, if you don't want to grind internally for all these different sets, then you're probably gonna have like, this is probably one of the best parts you can get. It has a gifted 10% on it. That gives you a 10% more scoring in monster truck events. So if there is, like, for instance, in the summit, a monster truck event, it will give you a 10% more scoring with this part. It's the highest part you can get from gifted. 10% is the highest. The skills here that I have on can also go to 10%, so this can be increased. So the perfect part will probably be gifted 10, skilled 10, and then in combination with the score breaker. That is, the skilled and the score breaker is obviously not so interesting for the monster truck event itself, but it might be if you have to use a monster truck in a skill test, for instance, in an escape test or so, or maybe later if they bring back the race line skill from the crew 1, then you might have to use a monster truck. So gifted, skilled, and score breaker is definitely not a bad part to have on a monster truck. Let me have a look. The destruction derby, I try to get a bit of all, but it's a bit of a combination that you can use here. But I always try to get the bulldozer on it because that increases the collisions impact. In other words, you can take a hit better with the bulldozer. All the rest, doesn't matter that much. Probably some Nitro Chemist set or so, if you have that on it. I think I'm still working on that one, to be honest. Oh yeah, I'm missing one Nitro part here to get that. Touring car is also sort of like the street race and the hypercars, and so probably Nitro Chemist is the best, and then next to that a score breaker. For the summit wise, I already told you in the previous video, you probably need like 2 sets. Nitro Chemist for racing and score breaker for skill test, and then you will already be more or less prepared, and then all the rest you can do. Let's have a look. Power boats, not really specifically. Of course, aerobatic planes, there is also one of those things that you definitely want to have the Magnificent on, which I don't seem to have here. Oh, here it is. what do I have on here? Here I have a magnificent 10%, which is also the maximum. Now, 10% might not be that much, but if you have it 7 times, and you get like 10% extra from the icon points, then you have 80% more scoring in an aerobatic event. So if you score 10,000 points with 7 of these magnificent 10% on it, you can score like 18,000 points in total. So that's almost double the amount of points. So you definitely need that. Over here, it's a pretty good part actually. I have Nitro Chemist, Magnificent 10, and the Extreme Mode 6%. The Extreme Mode you can replace with something else if you want. Especially the Magnificent is the one that counts for the aerobatics. And then you have some others. Let's see, what do you have on the air race? Air race, you have specific parts for air race. The gateway. If you have a perfect gate, if you do like the exact figure that it wants you to do, then you need to Nitro refills faster if you have gateway on it. The other one is perfectionist, I think. Not exactly sure if I have that on here somewhere. Also, something that you can use is tricky when performing figures. That's something that you can use on the air race, but also, for instance, on a monster truck or so, or even motocross for that matter. But that's I think that gateway and perfectionist is probably the best part for the air race. Now, let's have a look. This is sort of the Google document that I made. These ranges, they come directly from the devs, so they gave us the ranges in all of the 3 different parts. So you have the rare, the blue parts, they obviously come with a lower range, a lower maximum multiplier or percentage. Can only go to, for instance, rear drag here can go, it's either from 2 to 3%. If you have a purple part, it goes from 2.5 to 4%. If you have a yellow part, it goes from 3 to 8%. So obviously, you can get higher percentages and higher multipliers and so on. The slippery, as you can see here, 14 is the highest, skilled 10 is the highest, gifted 10 is the highest. So they gave us this range, and I thought, okay, I will make a Google document and expand this information a little bit, and I made some extra columns here. What does this part do when applied? A brief explanation on what it actually does. Then I also suggested what set bonus is best to use in combination. For instance, the popular increases the amount of followers, so you level up faster. And the fame magnet doubles the amount of followers. So if you have a popular in combination with a fame magnet, if you want to level up faster, that's the way to go. The loot digger, there are 2 which are more or less about loot, and that is the gold finder and the lucky. The gold finder increases the loot drop, so you will get more loot, and the lucky increases the loot quality. You will always gonna get the same part from an event or from a box, but with lucky on it, you're gonna get a higher percentage. So if you win like a magnificent 5% with the lucky on it, you're probably gonna get an 8 or a 9 or a 10%. That is what the lucky sort of does. So loot digger combination with gold finder and lucky is a pretty good part if you want to get more loot. The sniffer, also that one is pretty self-explainable. Sensor and collector are the only 2 that more or less involved when it comes to live reward boxes. The sensor increases the radar, so you have a wider range of detection of these boxes, and the collector increases the live frequency, so you will have boxes appear more often. And then the sniffer just finds more boxes in general. If you fly from Miami to New York, you might be able to find like 2 or 3 boxes. If you have the sniffer on it, you might be able to find 5 or 6. And then you also detect them in a wider range because of the sensor. So that is how it all is combinable. You can all find that in this Google document. I also gave some suggestions on which disciplines to use it best in. For instance, the skilled, that is something that you can use on with a score breaker. But on other than that, you can use it on all disciplines. But the gifted, for instance, has no meaning. I also think you cannot get it on anything else than the monster truck, because that's the only discipline where it counts for. The magnificent only counts for the aerobatics, for instance, and it keeps going on like that. So what does the part do? Which is best to combine it with the set bonus? Which disciplines? That's all kind of stuff that you can find here. I will link this Google document in the description of this video so that it all becomes a bit more clear what all these parts do and what is the highest percentage that you can get on it, because we got the numbers from the devs. That will be it for this video. Quick explanation on what is going on with these life reward and yellow parts mainly. That's what we go for. Blue and purple, that's all fine, but yeah, yellow is what you want, and preferably with the highest percentage or multiplier possible. I will see you guys in the next one, and bye for now.